We are recording, Gary.
Technology is killing us, Chris.
We have
For,
just been desperately trying to find a good view for both of us, and now we like it and went through all the technology on the planet. But without our sons or technology helpers, we can't get it done now.
yeah, it's
Well,
taken
it's
us
really
40 minutes to set up a 25, 30-minute meeting.
yeah, let's see how long they let us talk now here. But anyway, welcome, Gary Smith.
Thank you, Kurt.
Thank you for taking the time. And I think the last time we talked was actually before the World Championship, right?
Yes, exactly.
And I remember we had to accept the sad truth that you will miss your first World Championship since
Yes,
1995 it was, right?
91.
91.
Yeah,
Oh, I had the
yeah,
first number. No, I think I posted
yeah,
it 95, so it's 91.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm getting old, Kurt.
No, we never get old. That's not the reality, but it's a long time, yeah, and it's a lot of world championship.
Yeah, and I must be honest, it was sad, obviously, leading up to it, because that's for me the worst time. Once the competition starts, it's great because you're watching the jumps on Sky League and you're watching stuff live. So for me, that was great. And but you still miss the camaraderie of being there. But I also feel the lead up to the competition is always the best when you're on site and you're watching teams arrive and you're starting to look at how confident they are, how they're feeling. You always try and watch a video here and there. So that I really missed. But once it gets going, and I think it was a small meet, unfortunately, but very well run, it seems. It was run like clockwork. Everybody knew when they were on. They even had days off, which is unknown, unheard of kind of in our sport. So I think to the organizers, Rook and John, I think it was a phenomenal job, and all their helpers and staff. It was a phenomenal from the outside, a phenomenal job that they did.
Yeah, I think in this case we have to give Melissa all the credit for that. Melissa
Yeah, I
Nelson.
want to. Yeah, for obviously for Melissa as meet director.
Yeah,
Also, I hear outstanding job, but obviously I think all the groundwork was also set by Rook and
yeah,
John D'Annunzio,
yeah.
coming in. So I think as organizers and hosts, the fact that they stepped up and jumped in as soon as we had the cancellation of the Israel meet, it was great for the whole skydiving community that they did what they could.
Yeah, what a story that was. We talked it through, but I had the pleasure to find time with John and Rook both, and they
Yeah,
gave a little bit background information of how it came to this meet, and it was amazing what they put
yeah,
together in that time frame. And then Melissa was a meet director, so she threw in the modern communication things, kind of. I mean, she
yeah,
ran the whole meet basically on WhatsApp,
yeah.
um, and
No, I mean,
so
unbelievable. And I've been to a US Nationals that she also hosted, and I think she hosted a game this year. So, I
yes.
mean, she's just gaining experience, and
Mhm.
with that, getting better and better. So, I think an amazing job. It seems like an amazing meet.
Yes, it sure was. I mean, so there was no lack of organization management and all that, lack of teams.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
was the
I,
lowest participation in a long time. No, lack
yeah.
of a little bit. How did you see this from the outside? No, lack of excitement, or was it exciting enough? Or
I think as a coach, for me, it was exciting because obviously you focus more on the top side of it, who's winning the medals. That's kind of where my coaching is in that sense. But I think as a competitor or as part of the community, we have to look inside. I asked Vanna Parker went across there, and I don't know who hosted the meeting, the competitors meeting, but that was a question. Can anybody put their finger on it? Was it economics? Was it that the meet was very expensive that teams did not come, or is that in general where we're going? Because if we look in the outside, if you travel from drop zone to drop zone, the sport is a little bit on the downtrend right now. no figures are booming. There's nobody that says we had the best season ever. It's almost like compared to the best, we're on our way down, and that's in everything, even in tandems. So it's something that you look into, and we don't want to openly discuss it really, but even the team numbers also going down. And is this economics? Is it people can't afford what they could 10, 15, 20 years ago?
Yeah, that's it's an important question, and I'm hoping that our leaders in the sport will take it on. Which are the
Yeah,
federations, the national and the international federations, and I think to me one of the answers is that key word, leadership. Leadership, bringing
yeah,
people into horizontal formation skydiving competition again, or vertical. It doesn't really matter, but because at this point in time, there's no leadership into our area of the sport. We are a small
right.
area of the sport in general, So
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
big ways and there's angle flying and wing whatever, So we'll see. There will be discussion about this, but you and I, Gary, I hope we just keep being focused on what we do, and this is enjoying the four-way and eight-way formation skydiving competition. Um,
Yeah, 100%, Kurt. For me, it's still every day I wake up and go to work. It's an enjoyment. So
yeah.
that I hope will never stop. I hope the desire and the passion is always there, and obviously you hope for everybody in it. It's sad to see teams come to an end. I don't want to jump ahead. I don't know what's on your agenda, but with airspeed changing, that they will always continue. But Germany, Airbus, the French ladies I've heard might also be coming to an end. They might, they'll always regroup. But so it's one of those that as the teams step out back, you obviously hope that there's more teams to fill their place. But I don't know, I don't know. 20 years ago there was always up and coming teams. Well, right now we don't have that.
Well, we have those two topics. You touched them already. We haven't, since I never know what I'm going to talk about on NSL live talk. But I think you touched the two topics. There are two sides of it as of the competition. One, it was the actual competition in itself that we have not even started talking about yet. And then there is what's coming now, from here on
Yeah,
forward. That you mentioned with the airspeed at least, and the lineup change and so forth. But let's go through the competition quickly. We had our three events plus VFS. It was a sweep
yeah,
the first time again after 2000, and it was kind of, there was no, the sweep was almost pretty clear in the horizontal formation, but there was a question mark behind the sweep after round, still, going into round 10 in VFS. I don't know if
yes.
you followed that, but
Yeah, for sure, very closely. Because obviously I know core with Jason and Stephanie very well. Or and but then obviously also the Norwegians with Derek and them in it. So I think it was amazing to see, and in fact, it was the tightest race. I mean, halfway through the four-way, Jeremy Rollet from the Qatar Falcons contacted me. We had WhatsApp message, said the four-way is boring. It's already over, you know.
yeah,
And then, so for me, I was watching the VFS, and it was tight.
yeah. So that it turned out like it was a 1 point difference after round 10. And that 1 point, or the Norwegians always interfered with the sweep. So
Yeah,
if Blue Pelican or however they call themselves now would have won VFS, it would not have been a sweep.
yeah,
So
correct.
that was pretty exciting, in fact. But now, it turned out that the new core lineup, it's a different lineup, not with Jason and Stephanie any longer, at least
Yeah, yeah,
from what I saw. And so we got or the US delegation got the sweep, um, and first time since 2010 again, right? I mean, it was the
yeah,
second time since all four events that we know by now. Um,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I think it was the most exciting one to watch, and I think for the whole world, or here in Europe, they were all rooting for Norway because, like I said, if I go with Paul, they've owned that title for so long that everybody loves them when they're winning, but then after a while everybody gets tired of seeing Core on the top and you want to see a new champion. It
Yeah,
doesn't
not
matter what sport you're in. So that for me it was great. And even though it was a new Core lineup, I think the name Core just goes through. And as it would be with a Hayabusa or a Airspeed, if they dominate for so long, eventually somebody wants to see them fall. And then here in Europe, everybody was rooting for Norway to come through and give it to let the Europeans take it from the US. But unfortunately, it didn't happen.
Yeah, unfortunately for the Europeans, it's
Yeah,
like the Ryder Cup, like
yeah, true.
Yeah, so going through the events, I mean, they all still had their excitement no matter what, even in 8-way where the GK XB8 were miles ahead of the second place, but they had their competition with themselves, for the new
Yeah,
record numbers, historic record numbers. That was exciting in 4-way. It was interesting to see who would win the amateur title, and
right.
then also who would win the bronze medals. Maybe
Yeah,
it was not as exciting as we may have hoped for, but Hayabusa was close enough at least to see to have a view of the bronze medal position.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, they were not. I mean, obviously they started. I think if I look at the scoreboard here, they were 2 points behind. No, yeah, 2 points behind after the first jump, and then they beat the Tigers on the second round. So then you thought, well, maybe something goes
yeah,
in there, but
yeah.
eventually, you have to be fair and say, I think they did great with Ray, with the new guy Ray in a Hayabusa lineup, but Tigers definitely were more consistent, and you could see the 14 years together that
Yeah.
they've been in there. So it's one of those that I think I'm inside the Hayabusa camp. They are very happy with the 21 average after
Mhm.
1 year with the guy. And even so, almost a little bit less because he hadn't done any training for the SISM. He was out the team. He had to do
Mhm.
3 months of training, although it was split, of military training and not skydiving. So I think they've done great with, really, really good with him. So that was for me also interesting to see. And then of course when you're watching Arizona and the French, there was some like I was watching towards the end, the last 3 rounds, the French matched airspeed, around 9 and 10, and then even there's a couple of rounds that they matched them, but when they went down big, and that was the problem for them. You lose four points in one round, and then you're done. It happened on round 2 already, and it was basically done right there. And to round 2 and round 4, they lost 4 points on both those jumps, and then it's 8 points against an airspeed that is so technically good. You're done. It's not gonna. There's no comeback there.
And that's kind of almost to be if you're on the edge, if you're pushing it, you can fall. You may tie, you may
Yeah,
even win
yeah,
around here and there, but if you're performing on the edge because you have to be able to
yeah.
keep, then you can fall.
Yeah, and that's the competition experience, right? I mean, I had contact with Airspeed, just as individuals, and if by watching their jumps and their training, they looked so comfortable at that speed. They were so
Yeah.
comfortable at their they were whether they were finishing a block or starting a block, it was all the same. They would finish an 18 and move into the next random. It just looked phenomenal. And when you looked at the French, it was a bit scrappy. Whenever the French posted stuff, that you post your good jumps, but you could see they were not comfortable at that speed, and they ended up on a 25-2. And I'm sure they were not happy with all their jumps, but they were beaten by 21 points. So that's the difference right there. A little bit of technique. I think the airspeed technique is better in some of the stuff, but they just were comfortable at that speed. They're pushing, they're going quick. Airspeed, there's no doubt, but they look comfortable.
Yeah, so it's an interesting psychology right there. because they were surely a little bit disappointed that they weren't closer, or, I mean, significantly closer. But then at the same time, so there's that kind of disappointment. But then on the other hand, that after the World Championship, you're probably, I mean, I would say they're probably number one in the world right now. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, they have to they are. There's no doubt. I mean,
yeah,
airspeed we haven't even heard the new lineup, or I haven't heard from them. And I mean, you have to think whoever they pick up, they're going to go backwards before they go
yeah,
forwards. There's,
no, naturally. Yeah.
so for the French now, it's exciting, but it's a case of in their training, they've got to go. You've got to be comfortable at a 25 average on this draw before you can go more. You cannot make the mistakes that they were making. So yes, it's competition experience. They are growing, but they had to arrive at that meet thinking we can win this. Otherwise, what are we here for? You have to believe you can win it, but you have to think it's a big mountain to climb to beat Arizona Airspeed, this team. This is a big team to beat. So I would have gone in there a little bit more conservative, thinking let's just have our best meet and see where we are without pushing it too hard. And you might have still had the result would have been the same, but maybe a little bit closer.
But then at the same time, you have to consider that airspeed. I mean, this comfort level on this with the speed that they're going, it comes, of course, with experience and time. I mean,
Yeah,
airspeed. How many years are they ahead of the French lineup? Like 2 years or 1 year? At least 1 year.
yeah, but they
So
also done a lot more jumps. I remember the first year when Rhythm in 2021, when Rhythm were the team in Russia for the USA. Airspeed, they knocked out the jumps in that year. They'd been beaten. They'd been like a dog with their tail between their legs, but they didn't go and cry. They picked up Chris and Joey, and they went and they thumped those jumps out. And if you can make 800, 900, 1,000 jumps in a year, then you basically beat a team that only makes 500 in a year. You're doing double what they're doing.
yeah,
And
but if
and
you
and I
yeah,
think
I mean, yeah.
that
So
all helps. That all of a sudden you've got so many jump numbers behind you, and some. I mean, I think it's just of the Hayabusa numbers. The Hayabusa, their budgets are cut. If they do 500 a year, 600, that's a lot. But if you in Arizona, you can go make 100 jumps a month. That's 10, 12 days of jumping, and you're just with a new lineup, and you've got that backing, and you've got the desire and passion. So I take my hat off to them. It's hard work, but they punish the jumps in the beginning, and you see it how and how high they've gone now. The foundation was very good for talented, very talented skydivers with a very good foundation.
I'm just saying that the disappointment of the French team, it's almost like not fair to be disappointed, because if you're a year or two behind a team like Airspeed,
Yeah,
let's say the French team as it is right now, um, one more year, they would probably be on the Airspeed level. Okay, so
yeah,
they were just behind naturally because they haven't jumped together for the same amount of time. Jump number, is a different
yeah.
story, but so anyway, so there
I
is
think
this
I
kind of.
think it's if I can add on to you, I think it's easier from the outside to see that, that they would. I think even in the interview with you before, I said airspeed for sure. I don't think France will be ready, and that you saw it straight away. But if I was their coach or in their heads, I would say, hey man, you did your best. You came second with a 25.2 average, and now this is your building block. This is your foundation for the next 2 years. You're going to become world champions. So
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah.
I would, yes, disappointed because when you're inside, you want to win. Every competitor thinks we've done some great training jumps, we can beat them. But over 10 rounds, you cannot beat this ASB team, at that time. At that time. So for me, they didn't have the chance. But like you said, they just need to look at it and look at themselves and go, you know what? It wasn't our time. Next year's our time. Or next world meet, we will be champions.
And now we are already, into going into the future, but Hayabusa is a very good example for that. I mean, the patience that they have is quite amazing,
Yes.
because they took it just, okay, yeah, we're not going to win, but we have a long-term plan, and we will go back to being in contention for the, so that, maybe by nature or by personality structure, the Frenchman is a little bit less patient than a Belgian. I don't know the culture or the people,
Yeah,
but maybe that's a little bit behind it, because it's pretty amazing how mature and how patient Hayabusa has been rebuilding the team.
yeah.
They have 2 years now, and to go from where they are right now to where they want
Yeah,
to be.
and you know what? They're still going to have tough times ahead of them because around the corner here we have the indoor meet starting, and they're going to get beaten in the indoor meets, and they know it. But the thing is, they still focused on the 2 year goal. It's in 2 years that they've got to have with rain, even if it has to take longer and longer. But it's one of those that if they start to focus on the short term, be it the wind games, be it the I don't know if they do the paraclete meet, then they do the indoor paraclete meet, the shamrock, all those meets are short term for them, and it's hard when you're world champions to go out. Then you're going to take a clubbing. It's going to be painful and it's hard, but you got to keep a smile on your face and you got to believe in the long term, and you got to take it in steps. You got to take it step by step. So I also take my hat off to them because halfway through their year, I said to them, "You've got to believe you can medal." And they didn't. And you've got to train, but they didn't. They kept with the plan. They changed the lineup for Sism. They put Dave, and I even thought put Dave in and get a medal, but they didn't. They would have. I don't say they would have beaten the Tigers, but they would have been more competitive for a bronze medal with
Mm,
Dave in the team.
mm.
But it wasn't in the plan, and they just kept saying, "No, coach," or "No, Gary, this is not what we're doing." And you have to go, well, that's it. It's a long-term strategy, and their military bosses have agreed to it. So
Yeah, yeah, no, it's interesting. I mean, it's extremely interesting. Actually, I think I um, gave it some thoughts yesterday when I was looking at those same four teams, and
yeah,
they're all in such different situations. Like Hayabusa and Esbit both have two world champions in their lineup,
yeah,
and the world champions are trying to bring up, the new guys to the top level. France and Qatar Tigers never had a world champion in their
in a
lineup.
lineup.
So,
Yeah,
but they have the same lineups. The Qatar Tigers now for 14 years,
yeah,
France with a new and young. So the situation is so different between those four top teams, and we can still almost, I mean, guarantee that the same four teams will be in contention for them. It will be even closer at the next
yeah,
World
yeah,
Championship,
yeah.
right?
But
What
that
are you,
would make
what
it
are you
more exciting.
expecting?
I think so, but depending, I can't wait to hear the announcement from Airspeed who they've picked up because then it will
Mhm.
make a better thing. But I would have to say, like you said earlier, you put your money on France right now. I mean, France is they talented, they're young, they fit, they've got the desire and passion. It's can I don't know how the team gel is, how the chemistry is, which was very very strong for Arizona, which it's helped them through the 2 3 years. All the work with Jack that you've heard or Jack's input,
Mhm.
the teamwork thing I think is very 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 important, and no matter which team you're in. But if the French have a bit of that and they can go through, I don't think anybody will catch them. Depending where airspeed starts from, and we don't know if airspeed picks up two of the Golden Knights, four way, then I'd go, now it's a different ball game. But I know
That's not going to happen.
the Golden Knights are trying to beat them.
Yeah, yeah, that's not so that'll be interesting. So, that's
Yeah,
also a different situation. The US team,
it
they
might be
have
the
to
Golden. It
qualify.
might be Golden Knights four way.
Could not be, who knows where, that'll
Yeah,
be very interesting next year. I mean, then there's
yeah,
Niklas coaching the Golden Knights. Um,
yeah.
so that's an interesting situation. There's no guarantee for ASPD yet, to go to the next world meet. I mean, I'm sure
No,
that Joey and Chris are confident that they will, but there's no guarantee yet. The other three teams don't have to qualify. So now we are going now to the next topic, to the Qatar Tigers, who have won three consecutive bronze medals now.
yeah,
Um, I'm sure that I mean, they have said, I remember that conversation with them that we had in Zephyr Hills, they said, we want to be world champion. We're not going to stop. We're going to do that as long as we can because we love it.
Yeah,
But now we have the Lions,
yeah.
the famous.
The youngsters are coming to get them.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
they have a very good coach who has
no idea who he
generated
is.
other world champions.
Yeah.
So is that, are they dangerous for the? So what's happening anyway? Who's
They
selecting the team?
they took, well, what we did is we selected the best four. Luke and I, we selected the best four for the Lions. And I have to be honest, there's one or two in the Cheetahs, or one guy was out of the group. We're hoping to bring him back in. And then we'll have a very strong 6 players. And then I think it'll also put fire in the group, because right now those four are quite comfortable in there, and they jumped up very, very quickly. We were surprised at how well it went, but I have to be honest, if you watch the videos over and over, it'll be the same as at the same level for the French. These guys have jumped to they did a 20.9, I think, and a 19.8 in 2 meets, in 2 consecutive meets. And I think so. If you average it, give them a 20.4
Are
average.
we already
Uh,
running out of time? Jeez. Oh my.
it could be. So I'll keep it short. But the Qatar Lions have jumped to this level, but they are not comfortable at that level. If we have to give them all the meets, they need time to take the next step. And I think that before they take that, they will not catch the Tigers. The Tigers are very comfortable. The Tigers jumped up now to 22.8, but it was a fast draw. It was a very nice draw. So many teams did their highest, their best average. So and airspeed obviously blew it apart. But I think the Qatar Lions, they are not comfortable at that level right now. So even though they've got into the 20s, it'll take them a while to take the next step.
I know you were, we are not in such a hurry, in fact, by the way, so to relax this a little, we
Yeah,
still have like less than like some 10 minutes or so. But um, I know that you and Luke together are selecting the lineups for the Lions and the Cheetahs, so you're working together there. But the selection of the national team. So
yeah,
how does it come to the decision who is going to jump for Qatar at
yeah.
the World Championship?
Well, they are military, and it comes from the military boss. So I mean, right now, I sit and I discuss it with the boss, and so does the Tigers. They sit and also discuss. And unfortunately, if they had to say we keep going, I don't think it would be overturned. But the boss is interested. He always asks me reports on the group, how we doing, but eventually it will come that time. It'll come that time where it'll be blatant, that the Lions are better than the Tigers. But eventually it will not be a one-off. I don't think it'll be a jump off against the two teams. We might be at the same meet at one time. Eventually you have to say the youngsters with an age group of 24 to 25, 26 are now starting to be all better than the 40-year-olds, the 38, 39, 40-year-olds. And then you have to I would always back the younger horse. There's more desire, there's more passion.
And there is more to come. They're not short of new. I mean, they're building a solid foundation. When at the drop zone in Florida, you see like
Yes.
Florida is crowded with
Yeah.
students and new skydivers from Qatar. All the drop
Yeah.
zones are
Yeah.
pretty amazing.
They're
They are
taking
building.
over, Kurt. They're taking over. No,
Yeah,
I know that they sent 60 AFF students across to Zephyr Hills.
yeah.
I'm guessing
That's
that.
what I mean.
And they've made 200 plus jumps, I believe, already, all of them. And then from there, some guys will be sent to formation skydiving, some to canopy formation, paramotor maybe even as well. I'm not sure who accuracy. And then the biggest thing for us as coaches is to know what's the plan. What's the plan with our group, because also the 8-way with Jeremy, some of those guys are also getting a bit long in the tooth, and he might also want new guys into the 8-way. So
Yeah.
does that come from the Cheetahs for our leftovers, or do we take new guys and try and bring them up? But I think the best in any group is to mix a little bit. If you take two, for example, if you took two from the Lions and you put them with two of their guys, we would bring them up so quickly. And that was my suggestion with the Tigers 3 years ago, is to mix with this group. But that was vetoed. And so now it ended up that we bring up one group and we bring them all the way through, where every other group in the world, Hayabusa, Arizona, they switch 2 and 2, and before you know it, they back up at the top. And we are struggling a little bit with bringing four of the same. You can imagine four guys who can hardly build a formation now have to go all the way through until they get to a 20 average. It takes a much longer time. But until that, we don't have a blueprint exactly of what we're doing. So it's a bit difficult for us as coaches.
That's even happening in other sports too, like the soccer team. It's always a combination of experienced guys and young guys. So
yeah, have you watched Barcelona? With all the youngsters? Unbelievable.
That's 17-year-old guy, the best player, and a new Messi. They're probably but so that's happening in other sports. But here a quick word. We still have 5 minutes. Let's look at Jeremy's 8-way team there for a second. I mean, they finished now. The US team is so far ahead, and they're tied the highest average in history, a new world record for a single round, leaving the previous one in the dust. So that US team was so strong and so far ahead that it seems like the Falcons in second place are so far behind, which they were. But then on the other hand, they are now on a 19 average.
19 average.
Approaching the 20 level. That is medal level at the time when Russians and French, had good 8-way teams around. Are we seeing a possibility here that it's a similar situation as in 4-way, where the Falcons may have a chance now to begin challenging for gold medals in 8-way? US is rebuilding.
That's the exciting goal or the exciting news for them, is that obviously the US is going to rebuild, but we know that the US will always have a strong team. But I also think for the Falcons, if all of a sudden a French team appeared that would challenge as well as the Russians, it will put a little bit more bite into them every day that they go train. Right now, they knew that they were never going to catch XP, GK, XP, and they knew that they were not. No one was going to challenge them. So it's hard to go out there. And Jeremy was very frustrated a month before with the result at the German nationals. He was very disappointed. He said the drive, the training. So it's amazing and fantastic for me to see. And I contacted him, and he was very happy that they got to a 19 average, something that he always told them that's where they should be going. That's what they need to do. And they did the 19. So he was super, super happy with it. And let's hope this keeps driving them. They're training indoors right now in Wembley, and I think it's the British nationals taking place in France. And they're going to be doing 8-way competition there. So I mean, Jeremy, I think he's a great coach for them. They get on super well together. So I think a little bit of challenge, a bit of competition for them will push them even more.
Well, when are you moving to Qatar? Jeremy is
never.
right?
But Jeremy's there with his wife Sandra, and she's a teacher in the French school, so she has a job, and the kids are going great there. So I mean, I think he's all set. For me, I'm too old, Kurt, and with my wife and kids, there's no ways I'm going to Qatar.
And you're living in a happy place. I mean, the Netherlands, I think behind Finland, it's the happiest people on the planet.
Yes, very happy here. When the sun's shining like today, you've never seen so many smiles.
Yeah. And that's on Texel. Texel, that's a beautiful place too. You just have to watch out when the water level is rising.
Don't say that.
I hope you're in a safe spot there.
Yeah, man, it's crazy.
Yeah. All right. Well, we really have 1 minute left now, Gary. So I think
thank you, and obviously thank you. I'm always happy to speak to you, and I'm sure anybody else would as well. Thank you for everything that you do for us.
Well, it's I'm doing that because I'm enjoying it.
And I have one thing before we sign out. Get Airspeed on here. Let's see that new lineup.
Well, I can't wait to hear it, but I'm not gonna burn my tongue in the meantime. So I'm waiting until the 1st of December,
No,
I
but
think
oh,
they said.
I thought it was November. I thought it was November they were going to let us know.
No, I think they said the training begins on the beginning of
December.
December, and that's when
Yeah,
they
so
will.
they would tell
But
us in November.
yeah, but I'm gonna. Yeah, they will tell us in November at some point, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
yeah,
Because that's when the training begins in December. So we
yeah.
here. I'll double check again to make sure I'm not missing it because I
Thank
promised
you,
I would.
Kurt.
Yeah. Gary, thank you very much. Best to
You're
your
very
family,
welcome.
and hopefully
Yes,
we see each other soon again at one of the meets.
yes, for
At the
sure.
latest at the
Shamrock,
Shamrock Showdown.
Shamrock.
That's right. Yeah, coming
Yes,
Lions and the Cheetahs. Okay,
yes.
so Mrs. Zoom will shut us off now in 2 seconds here.
Thank you, Kurt.
Goodbye. Thank you very much.